Gotriliton says, I hope that multiple questions are not a problem. If Odin isn't real, how come there are no ice giants around? Yeah, I like that's a good quote. I like that. I like the one where it says Jesus said he'd rid the world of evil, and Odin said he'd rid the world of ice giants, and I don't see any ice giants around. So yeah, it's a good. That's as good a rationale for believing in Odin over Jesus, I'd say, right? Do you like fantasy books? If so, what is your favorite fantasy book series? I would say that it's been a long time since I read any of them, but I did really like. I liked the Xanth series. It's like Xanth by Piers Anthony, and I think the last one I read was probably. I'm sure it was probably like maybe right after college or something like that. Was probably the last one I read. So maybe it would seem simplistic to me now. I don't know, but I liked it. I liked it back then. It was fun. Curious1 says, when traveling by plane with the wifey, have you guys worked up the nerve to join the Mile High Club or at least joked about it? I'm not sure if that sort of thing would land you in Gitmo these days, but I'm not about to try. I will. I'll just take my plane trips standard, and I'll wait until we land for sexy time. So Plushmeth says, who's worse, the UDA or IRA? Well, they both use violence to accomplish goals, and I'm not really for either one of them. Although the IRA did sign the Good Friday Accord, and it's been mostly quiet since then, so I don't have a lot to dispute there. I'm sure I know there's always elements of people that seem to have forgotten what the Troubles were like, but I've read some things recently. There's some people that are stirring up trouble that don't even really remember when the Troubles were there. So Christopher Hoodall says, are you coming to London this time around? It was interesting talking to you and your wife last year in the Knights Templar. Well, time is flying, my friend. It's been almost 2 years since I met you at Knights Templar in London. It was nice meeting all you guys, and D-Land and Cole was, of course, there as well. No, we did not go to London. That was a whole other trip. We did London and Paris 2 years ago, and then last year it was Scotland. This year it was Ireland. Next year is Tokyo. That's going to be interesting. So there will certainly be a video about that. Okay, so you coming? What else? Yeah, Schopenhauer Sieben says, "What is your favorite film and why?" I'd have to say probably my favorite film if I were pressed into it. I don't necessarily I'm not one of those people that keeps like a big list of all the films, all the videos, or all the movies I've seen rather. But Pulp Fiction's got to be up there. That's certainly one of my favorites. It's got just tons of memorable moments. Lord of the Rings is also way up there too. The Lord of the Rings trilogy, just in general. All right. Earth and Dam says, I heard that Ireland has gone from one of the most religious to atheist countries in Europe. Is this true? I heard this happened when the first reports of the massive child abuse cases came out of the Catholic Church. That is actually true. That the amount of religiosity in Ireland has gone way down, despite a couple years ago the blasphemy laws and stuff kind of being passed. I don't know if they got repealed. I don't think they did, but I know there was stuff about that in the news as well. Let's see. So, Can of Minus says, how does Zaunstar deal with jet lag on his travels? Well, I deal with jet lag by I try to get enough sleep the night before. I try to get my schedule as close to the place that I'm going to as possible. And when I get there, if I do need to sleep and take a nap, like as soon as I get there, just to make it through the rest of that day, I may take like a sleep aid before I go to bed. My first night, like in an actual bed, not an overnight flight, but take a sleep aid so I can get through that whole night and then try to get myself acclimated. So Claudia Quat says, how much Guinness can you drink? Not very much, as mentioned I think previously. It's not great. I find it too bitter, and my palate is I just don't like bitter that much. So, Seven Soul Light, worst Fox News host? Well, if you're counting Bill O'Reilly as a host, I'd say he's got to be the number one. He's just, tide goes in, tide goes out, never a miscommunication, right? But there's so much more that guy's he's just such a windbag. So Inuri Rodriguez says, why don't you make more vids? Why don't you make vids more often? It channel is amazing. So yeah, thank you. And the reason why I don't make more vids is because I like to travel, and I got work that has me going places, and I just lots to do. It's fairly time consuming, the style of video that I do. I always toy with doing some more off the cuff videos, and I've occasionally done that, and sometimes they've turned out really well actually, but I'm not sure. I just don't know how often to do those, and I'm just very picky about content, and I don't ever want to put crap out there. That's just one of those things. I don't want to put stuff out there that I can't put up among like my favorites and say, well, that's at least close to as good. Maybe I'm just too picky, but you'd see more from me if I were less picky, I suppose. So Slapnuts X says, if you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be? I would be a sugar maple because I really like maple syrup. Pure maple syrup, the real stuff, not like the Aunt Jemima or the Log Cabin or whatever. I mean like pure maple syrup, really good stuff. That's my favorite. So, Jaybird196 says, will you be doing or seeing anything different from the last time you went to Ireland? Well, I had never been to Ireland, but now I have. You may be thinking of Scotland last year. Also a kind of chilly country, but that is not where I was this year. Drasky Vanderhoff says, NLR or TSE? Yeah, I had to actually look this one up. This one is actually something about fan fiction for My Little Pony, and I had no idea what it was, so I now sort of know what it is, but I still do not have any idea what side I'm supposed to be, so whatever. Etinar89 says, did the Irish also have kids on leashes like the British do? And it's funny you asked that, because I saw this question before I even got on the plane to Ireland. This was one of the first questions that came in, and then we got to Ireland, and then like the first full day we were in Ireland, we were in Galway, and there was a guy with a leash on his kid, and it was like a monkey. The kid had like a monkey backpack sort of thing on, and the tail was like the leash part, and he was holding his kid. That was the only time in Ireland I saw anybody with a leash on their kid. That was in Galway. So a Black Atheist says, ever play League of Legends? No, I have not. I've heard it's good. I've never played it. I guess it's an MMO of some type, and I don't know much beyond that. I think it's popular in Asia, if I remember correctly. I think it's one of those that's very popular in Asia, but I don't know. Don't really know the details behind it. Ayla Graff says, wow, I'm first. Who are you more alike with? Your mother, your father, or your wife? Just interested. Well, my dad, I would say that I'm probably a fair amount like my dad in overall temperament, although I'm much more extroverted than my dad is. And then some of my interest in science, certainly. My dad's a retired high school biology teacher. He was a biology teacher for like 33 years, so I certainly learned a lot of that from him, just scientific method and everything, as well as also being a fellow non-believer. But my mom, I would say some interests I have that are like my mom. My mom's sort of quite a bit into politics and figuring out, she watches the news and likes to know what's going on in the world, and I'm very much like that too. My dad is quite a bit as well, but my mom especially, and I'm like that also. And I'd say Mrs. Zaunstar, we're very alike in terms of goals and what we want out of life. So that's something that we're very similar on, and just sort of our overarching views of things, even about life. So I would say that is it. That's all the questions you had. So thanks a lot for the questions, and there are your answers. And I will see you soon.